East and West learning connections.
Helps people of different cultures break barriers and connect with each other.
So welcome to our second workshop with this partnership of East and West and NCCA Canada. And today you can see the title. We're looking at strategies for persuading stakeholders to support a new idea. So the big umbrella of persuasion, but a little slightly more specific. And so without further ado, let's get into it. As you know, but if you don't know, I'm Ric Phillips and my background sociology, psychology, later on getting an MBA. I was a former ESL teacher. I'm now a coach, a communication coach trainer, a teacher as well. I teach entrepreneurship skills as well as communication skills, for example, at Yeti, and run, I sort of run NCCA Canada. I mean, it's a group effort, but I guess I'm the lead on that. So as a lot of nonprofits are understaffed, so I do a lot of the work there, but I'm happy to be involved in an association that is focusing on not just communication coaches, but also providing the public with communication skills, webinars, and events. And I'm a global guru somehow for the last few years under the category of communication, which is totally cool. Okay, so today, and for those of you that don't know, NCC Canada does try to help the communication coaches out there with designation and professional development, but we also offer it workshops and webinars to anyone. And as a matter of fact, we are going to have our first webinar of this year, May 15th. My last slide will have a link, but if you're interested, it's free. Just keep it in mind, the subject is elevator pitching. So if that's interesting for you, you can sign up and tell your friends about it. Otherwise, you can find us all on social media. So that's a bit about NCCA Canada. And today's topic is persuading stakeholders to support your idea, for example, your suggestion. And you can see here our agenda. We're going to look at what is persuasion, because it's always interesting to hear what that word means to you. We're also going to look at the word stakeholders. Again, what does it mean to you and who are your stakeholders? I'm going to teach you a simple verbal formula for persuasion. And then we're going to practice with the concept of dog walkers. Yes, you read that right, dog walkers. And then if we have time, we'll have a bit more practice. If not, you can do it for homework. And as always, a bit of a Q&A. So feel free to interrupt me, but I'm going to start now. So what is persuasion? I would like to know if anyone in the audience is brave. You can do audio only or video and audio or in the chat. Just let us know, simply speaking, what's your simple definition of persuasion? What does that word mean to you? So could someone help us out, please?
Okay, I can try.
Yes, Dongmei.
Persuasion is to try to influence the other parties to accept your idea, whether verbally or other methods.
Yeah, great. Excellent. I love it. I love it. Anyone else have any different type of definition or in addition to?
Katie put something in the chat. Convince someone to do something.
Good. Excellent. I love the simplicity and directness of that. Very good. Anyone else?
I would say to sell your ideas successfully.
Nice. Nice. To sell your ideas successfully. I love it. I love it. Okay, great. So everyone's correct. It's just interesting how people word it to me, but I think we all know what persuasion is. Is it unethical is my next question. Is persuasion or persuasion tactics, persuasion techniques, is it unethical in terms of convincing someone to do something? Any thoughts on the question of ethical or versus unethical? Does anyone think it's unethical?
I
That
think
it's
it
a bit
depends
shady?
on what you want people to do. If that's something unethical, then I would say it's unethical. But if it's a good thing, right, then it's just a technique to make good things happen.
You're You're kind of playing with words there.
Mhm.
We have to think about, let's say that you learn persuasion techniques or persuasion tactics from some book, some expert, some webinar. The question is, do you feel that in general, to learn how to persuade someone to follow your advice or to buy your product, whatever it is, do you feel that's in general kind of an unethical thing to learn, or do you feel that it's okay to learn persuasion tactics? That's kind of the question.
I feel it's okay
Mhm.
because I think my ability is under average, so I need to, make it up.
Understood. Great, thank you. Anyone else have an opinion, same or different, about the ethics of persuasion or
I
thoughts on it?
think that's ethic as long as you are sharing or you are communicating the truth. You are not trying to lie something or mislead something.
Nice, Karen. Yeah, got it. Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else? Okay, I want you to think about the word sales, and I want you same question. You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer. Just answer in your head. Is sales ethical or unethical? Sales is. Let's go to the next word. Convincing. Is that ethical or unethical? What about this word? Manipulation. Manipulation tactics. Is that ethical or unethical? And so probably some of you do not have the same definition for all those words. Probably some of them you're like, yeah, that's okay. In other words, like, no, that's not okay. And herein lies a bit of a problem with the language. In this case, English, but I'm sure if you translated all these into Chinese or whatever, it's the same question arises. It's how you interpret the word. So in English, we would call it like, what's the connotation or denotation of the word? So denotation is the dictionary meaning. So if we look up persuasion in the dictionary, it says something to the effect of what you guys said earlier, right? How to get someone to do something. But what's the connotation? What's the emotional impact of the word? And some of you might have a feeling that persuasion, influence, manipulation is a bit unethical or shady or tricky or depends. So I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just illustrating that this is why some people don't learn persuasion tactics, or they're nervous about using them, or because there's a bit of an internal struggle in their head with if they should use these techniques or not. So that's something to consider, how you think about the word sales, persuasion, influence, negotiation for that matter. Something to think about. I don't have the answer for you. You have to think about it yourself. What I would say for my next bullet point coming up to the screen here is, how do you feel? How do you feel? And this is to me important because it deals with emotions. So when you think of the word persuasion, when someone is trying to persuade you, how do you feel? If you're trying to persuade someone else, how do you feel? If you feel good, if you feel fine, then you're good. And it's not an ethical issue for you. If you feel uncomfortable trying to persuade somebody to do something, then it's an ethical question. So it's kind of a simple little test. Is how do you feel? The same would be said in sales, of course. I remember one of my clients a number of years ago happened to be Chinese, but I'm not just saying that because the audience here is mostly Chinese, but this lady happened to be Chinese, and she worked at a bank. And long story short, the bank asked her, when she had kind of free consultations with new clients, to kind of upsell them a lot and whatever the banking products were. And she just felt really uncomfortable about that. Now, it wasn't about lying, and it wasn't about cheating or stealing, nothing that level, but it was a gray area where she felt that her job was to give someone advice, for example, on maybe something like their banking package or their financial needs. But the bank was encouraging her to constantly upsell people on something that they may not necessarily need. For example, you come in for a checking account, and then next you know you have a meeting with a financial advisor who's talking mutual funds to you. So again, it's not, that's up to you to decide if that's ethical or unethical. But that's an example of how you feel, and that's going to tell you if you're going to be okay using persuasion tactics with people or not, is if you feel okay with it. I would say persuasion should be neutral, because persuasion, to me, it's you want to help others see a point of view that is beneficial. and beneficial to both parties. So obviously, if I'm trying to persuade you to do something, I want you to because it's beneficial to me. That's fair enough. If I'm really being a good communicator or coworker or friend or partner or whatever, it's also beneficial to you. But maybe you don't see it that way. So while I'm persuading you or convincing you, it's not to hurt you, but rather for you to see the light, to see things from a certain point of view that maybe you're not thinking about it or seeing it from a certain point of view. So in that definition, it's ethical. I'm literally trying to help you see something from a different point of view. Again, you could push back and say, well, I don't know if the person doesn't want to, they don't have to, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's true. But again, this is what I mean about how it feels to you. How does it sit right with you and your moral compass? And as someone else said, we're not lying. I would never encourage anyone to lie or steal or do something that dramatic. What we're talking about is a point of view, bringing it to the surface of the conversation. So the other person can understand what you see are the benefits to both parties. So in that regard, it's almost like a negotiation, a win-win negotiation, what you're going for. Okay, so persuasion is neutral to help others see a point of view that is beneficial. That's what I would say a good definition should be. This will assist your effective communication. Everyone talks about what is effective communication. Of course, there's a lot of different aspects to that, but I think a persuasive speaker is a good speaker, is a good leader, is a good manager, is a good partner. You can be assertive, you can be quiet, you don't have to be loud, but if you have good persuasion technique, if you can frame things from a certain point of view where the other person or people see the benefit to themselves, I think that's a very good communication skill. So we can call it persuasion, or we can call it organization of thought, or whatever we want to call it, but it would fall under the category of being an effective communicator. And that's why we're all here. We're all trying to just become a better, more effective communicator. So once again, before I leave the slide, I want to once again stress this, that if you don't feel good about sales, persuasion, influence, whatever, this is going to be really tricky for you because there'll be an internal conflict of some kind. But if you've sorted it out and it's okay because you understand persuasion is helping someone, it's helping see benefits, that their benefit is also important to you, then you will have no problem evoking persuasion tactics when necessary at work or home. That's what I would say. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this slide before I move on? Just want to give you a second.
Can I just make a comment?
Of course.
You just discussed. It seems because you also ask whether it's ethical or unethical. Does that like with that assumption or pre-assumption that the persuader always first have their own interests first because they try to sell something to the others. So with that, like when we talk about the concept, it seems like the assumption is like first is for the good of the persuader. That's number one. But ideally, it should be also good for those being persuaded, sell, the idea. Can I make that assumption?
Yeah, exactly. If you're not going to get anything out of the conversation, you might not be motivated to have the conversation. You might not be motivated to make the efforts to have that big discussion with someone if you don't benefit from it. So I think it's being honest to say that we usually have some stake, some interest in the conversation because we're going to get some benefit. Like if you're going to go talk to your boss about something, it's probably because you want your life at work to be a little bit easier, better, more efficient, right? Otherwise, why would you bother bringing that up? So I think in most cases, unless you're truly, truly altruistic, I think in most cases it's going to benefit you. That's why it's coming to your head. That's why it's coming to the surface. But what people make a mistake is they go to the conversation only talking about their benefit. They say things like, I want you to do this so that I can feel good, so that I can benefit, so that I'm happier, so that my life is easier. And that's the challenge, is when you talk to someone and just only talk about your own benefits, they might feel confused, or they might feel it's unfair. They might not understand why that's important to you so much, or why it should be important to them. But the moment you also let them know the benefits that they're going to get, then suddenly it's a lot more interesting of a conversation to them. They're more open, they're more interested, and the conversation is smoother. That's the way a good persuasive conversation should be, is talking about both benefits, not just your own.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. You're welcome. Okay, so moving on from here. I hope everybody can see that lovely picture. It's a picture of a calm lake with ripples in the water, circular ripples in the water. What's that about? Let's find out. So next topic is we're talking about stakeholders. So who are stakeholders? So does anyone, not to put you on the spot, but does anyone want to give me again a simple definition of what this word means? What is a stakeholder? Anyone? Not sure. Okay.
I think Chloe come unmute and she's
Okay.
muted again.
Oh,
Okay.
so my thoughts on this, because originally I thought stakeholders are those important people who are making decisions. But then I realized you work with stakeholders because you have common interest, and you need to have those decisions together and benefit each other. That's my understanding. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Excellent. Very good. So we have to think about who are your stakeholders. So a stakeholder could be customers, could be teammates, could be neighbors, really almost anybody. And I want you to think about who are your stakeholders. Again, you don't have to tell me right now, but I want you to think about who are the people that you affect the most at work, or who affect you the most at work. Now, we could do the same thing in your social circle as well, or your family circle. Who are the people that affect you the most, or who are the people that you affect the most? Meaning your actions, your behaviors, who do they affect the most? So whether you want to look at it from work point of view or personal point of view is up to you. But stakeholders could be a wide variety of people, not just the big boss. So the reason why I have this picture of this ripple is because I like to think of stakeholders as anyone affected by you or that affects you. And it reminds me of the pebble in the pond ripples, which is why I chose that picture. It reminds me that when you drop a stone, a pebble into the pond, there's a ripple effect. So to me, this is what stakeholder is. It's anybody you are creating ripples to, or someone who's creating ripples for you. So once again, at work, it could be your teammates. It could be your bosses and managers. It could be people under you. It could be vendors, suppliers, not just customers. It could be banks. It could be government if there's regulations that affect you at work. So stakeholders really could be a wide variety of interested parties. So again, think about your stakeholders. Who are the most important stakeholders to you are at work? And then ask yourself, yeah, like, by what they do, does it affect me a lot? And if the answer is yes, then those are key stakeholders we have to pay attention to, because there's a symbiotic relationship between you and them. What they do affects you, maybe what you do affects them. So just, again, this is just important for you to be aware that it's not just customers, and it's not just teammates, and it's not just your manager. They may be the key ones, but there's other stakeholders. Could be, like I said, neighbors. If you work at a brick and mortar place, your neighbors are your stakeholders. They're affected by you. If you guys are making a bunch of noise at the office, they're going to be affected by you, just as a silly example. Okay, so I want you to think about, we're going to do a verbal formula now for persuasion, and we're going to look at Aristotle, one of these old Greek philosophers and thinkers who's famous. And we're going to look at his advice, how to be persuasive, how to speak persuasively. We're going to look at what he suggested. And the first thing he suggested that you need is some sort of ethos, which loosely translates to credibility. Credibility of you, the speaker, and or credibility of your idea. So remember, at work, you might be putting forth an idea. You might be suggesting something. You want to persuade your boss. You want to persuade the team. You want to persuade the company to do something. So Ethos is, who are you to suggest that? Or tell me more about this idea you have, why it's credible. So ethos is two. It's you as the person presenting the idea, and it's the idea itself. That's the first thing you have to consider before you go into that conversation, because you want to be prepared. You want to do your homework. So you should write down some notes for yourself. Who am I to suggest this? Meaning what, as we say in English, what leg do I have to stand on? What's my credibility? And again, has this idea been done before? Have we tried it before at this office? Maybe it was done elsewhere. Maybe it was done even in another country, but it was successful. That's fine. But like, what can we list if someone challenges the credibility? We want to be prepared for the conversation. So that's first thing, ethos. And the next thing is pathos, which is emotional appeal. Emotions, simply speaking, go to two camps, which is pain and pleasure. So yes, there's a lot of different types of emotions, but generally speaking, pain and pleasure is an easy way to think about human emotions. The pain is what you want to avoid. Excuse me. It's the something that doesn't necessarily hurt you, but takes away your resources, takes away your time, for example. It's something that is not comfortable, not happy, so you want to avoid that. So that's pain. Pleasure would be the opposite. It's something that maybe gives you something, like a resource, gives you something nice. So you go towards that. So pleasure and pain are both important. When you're trying to be persuasive with somebody, you want to remind them of the pain they may have by not following your suggestion, and or the pleasure they may get by following your suggestion. So it sounds like flip side of a coin, which is fine. But when you're structuring your persuasive paragraph or pitch or conversation, whatever you want to call it, this preparation ahead of time will allow you to have your thoughts organized better, and it will allow you to be more persuasive. So once again, pathos is the emotional appeal of your idea, how that person that you're speaking to will feel the pleasure of doing what you suggest and avoid the pain, which therefore gives them relief, which is another form of pleasure. And the last thing he said was logos, which is logical appeal. Essentially, it's numbers, using numbers of some kind to make your point, because numbers, math, is a universal language anyone can understand. For example, X percentage of something. 97% of customers are happy with our product. That's just a quick example of someone using numbers. Today only 20% sale. That's a persuasion tactic using logos, using number. 57% of people who stay at our hotel use the sheets twice in a row before washing them. It's a persuasion tactic. It's making you feel like you have to follow that 57%. So don't get your sheets changed every day, but rather every second day to save them. What they really want the hotel is to save money, right? On the soap and on the laundry. But they don't say that. If the sign says, hey, help us save money by not changing your sheets every day, you don't care, right? Why do you care about the hotel's money? You don't. So they say it differently. They say something like, maybe not 57%, but maybe it's 77% of people who stay here stay here for more than 4 days, only request changing of the sheets twice a day or twice a week or whatever. So that's what you may find with advertising, marketing and advertising in general, a lot of persuasion tactics. You will see, now that I've introduced this to you, ethos, pathos, logos, you can see it all over the place. TV commercials, print, as we talked about, you stay at a hotel, they've got some sort of persuasive pitch about why you should save water or save soap. It's all, you'll see it clearer now that you know these three concepts. So what I like about this is very simple. It's three things to learn to use. So what I want you to do with me, if you're up for it, is we'll just do a quick task to practice this. And we just want to create a short ad for dog walking services using ethos, pathos, logos. So the reason why I say dog walking services is because we have to think about words are limited because in a newspaper ad, traditional ad, they'll charge you by the words. Like the longer your ad, the more money you would have to pay. Or if you think about someone who's going to post an advertisement up on a telephone pole or tree at a park, again, you've got limited space. You're not going to write just a bunch of text. You're going to have some pictures. You're going to have a little bit of text. So with that in mind, that we don't want to say a lot, we want to say something short and sweet. Let's think together. You are the dog walker. You want to make some money as a dog walker. That's your new side gig, your side hustle. What could we say about using ethos, the credibility of you, the dog walker? I mean, we can make it up. It doesn't have to be really you, but what could a dog walker say about themselves to show credibility? Does anybody have any ideas? What could a dog walker say about themselves in the advertisement to show or prove their credibility? Dongwei.
Reliable
Mm-hmm.
and a dog lover, love dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Great. A little bit more emotional, maybe for pathos as well, but still, yeah. What else? What else can we say that shows the credibility? Remember, there's other dog walkers out there, so you're competing with other people.
Maybe also affordable.
Yeah, affordable. Now that's probably more logos. Especially if we start listing numbers and prices, it's probably more logos. But you're on the right path of just thinking, what can I say that's going to stand out and win trust immediately?
How many years you are in this business? How many
Good.
dogs you have worked
Good.
every year?
Good. 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 Exactly. So that ends up being both ethos and logos because we're talking about years of service or number of dogs. So it is a number thing, which is a universal language. At the same time, it leads to credibility that this is not your first time, that this is not your first year. Very good. Excellent. Let me ask you, for those of you that have dogs, what type of dog walker would you hire? What would be important for you for them to have before you hired them and trusted them with your little pooch?
Any dog owners here? I don't have a dog.
I have a dog. Maybe I can.
Go ahead.
First, trustworthy, because
Mm-hmm.
say if I work somewhere in my office and I need somebody pick up my dog, right? I need trust this group of dog walkers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Secondly, energetic.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this group of owners or dog walkers, they need to be passionate or dog lovers, but energetic is very important because sometimes they don't feel well and they're mentally not stable enough, and they cannot provide this constant type of service.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that my dog sometimes got lost. I cannot enjoy the sunshine like regularly. So
Right.
that's my two criteria.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So for those of you just thinking about this question, maybe you have experience with dogs as pets, maybe you don't. But either way, you have to think about if I was to hire a dog walker, what would be important to me, right? And so if the person said, like it's a 16-year-old girl, it's her first job ever, but she doesn't have pets, it doesn't mean it's a hard no, but it makes you think. This would be the same as a babysitter, by the way. If you're hiring a babysitter for your child, and again, it's a 16-year-old girl who doesn't have younger siblings, it's her first part-time job. That's a big ask. That's a big leap of faith. As opposed to the 19-year-old girl who has younger brothers or whatever, who's done this a couple years already, a little bit easier to trust them. So I'm not suggesting that one thing will be 100% yes or 100% no all the time. We're talking about persuasion. We're talking about what motivates people to say yay or nay. So the credibility of the dog walker or the babysitter is important. The emotional appeal, what emotions are important, right? If you're a dog owner, you feel guilty because you're at work and your dog is stuck at home. So the dog walker comes, you want them to play with the dog. You want them to take the dog outside and get sunshine and fresh air, as Chloe said. That's what you want because you feel guilty the dog is stuck inside. And that's why you're hiring this service, right? Get the dog out, give them hugs, whatever it is, give them treats, make them feel special until you get home. So these are real emotions that we have to be aware of. And if a dog walker mentions those things and touches on them, you're going to feel more connected to that dog walker because they understand. They understand dogs. They understand dog owners. Yeah, they get me. And when we feel that we're similar thinking people, we trust each other more. Now, logos we talked about before, it could be something about numbers. It could be years of experience. It could be number of dogs you've worked with, absolutely. Or it could be something like the price, like first buy a package of 9, the 10th one is free, or 25% off the first purchase, whatever it is. But those numbers can also help sell. So ethos, pathos, logos is something you could use for something high stakes like work, negotiations. It could be something low stakes, like we're talking about, should we order pizza or McDonald's for lunch? It doesn't matter. You can use ethos, pathos, logos to practice your persuasion skills. So let me show you the next slide. Here's a picture I took on the streets of Toronto. I have no connection to this person, obviously, but I just want to ask you, what stands out in terms of what is persuasive or not? What's interesting to you here? Where do you see ethos, logos, pathos? Everybody wants to be shy today. Insured and licensed is written in the corner. Insured and licensed. This is ethos. This is credibility, right? That the person's taking it seriously. They've got insurance, that they're fully licensed. That's awesome. 6 years of experience, it's credibility, but it's also the numbers. It's showing an actual number. Okay. 1 hour on leash group, $20. 1 hour off leash group, 24. I don't know if those are good prices or not. I have no idea. But they're showing their price, which is confident. And maybe that's motivating. Maybe those are good prices. I'm not sure. Okay. And then we didn't talk about pictures because our exercise was a verbal exercise, but obviously the pictures, you've got 2 happy smiling dogs in the picture at the corner, which give you the feeling that the dogs would like Allison. All right. And the picture at the bottom is Allison actually walking real dogs. So once again, the credibility of this is something I'm actually doing. This is me walking 4 dogs. I have experience. The dogs are happy. Here's my prices. I've done this for 6 more years. I'm insurance and licensed. So again, a simple advertisement put up on a telephone pole in Toronto, and you can see whether Allison did it by accident or on purpose. She's trying to be persuasive with little amount of words said. She's trying to persuade you to call her. Does it make sense, everyone? Any questions about this?
No, I don't have questions. I just know this because working in marketing, like all the information that will convince people is kind of scattered around on the corners. So, and then I actually had a hard time recognize what's the middle part is saying. And then I realized it's the name of the person who's walking the dog or her branding, I guess.
Yeah, Allison Unleashed. That's her
Mhm.
thing. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. And so someone with a marketing background like you could give her advice, right? Or maybe I could give her some advice. But what I like about this is it's a real example. It's not something I just created on Canva. And then we can look at it together and say, this is what we like, this is what we don't. Like I like the colors, I like the purple. I think it stands out very nice. The phone number, the name, and the dog work service. I like the pictures. Because anybody could get stock photo. It doesn't feel real, but these feel like real dogs, real pictures. So I like that. And I really like that she put insured and licensed. I think that's really important. So anyway, again, just take it for what it is, but there's an example. And so Again, I mentioned earlier, you're going to have lunch with your coworker. Do you want to have pizza or McDonald's? Just for fun, you could just in your head do a quick ethos pathos logos why you want pizza. Just again, just for practice, just for fun. Or with your child who wants to, have Friday junk food or something, you can negotiate KFC or Popeye's chicken. Well, they're both chicken, yeah, but they're different. Well, how? Okay, here we go, right? And then it's like, you might say something like, well, Popeye's chicken's healthier than KFC. And the kid says, well, how do you know that? And then you present your credibility, right? Or maybe the emotional appeal is different. Maybe the taste is somehow flavors better for the kid. A logical appeal, maybe one is closer than the other. Maybe there's an Uber Eats discount on one, but not the other. That's a logical appeal. But again, it's not rocket science what we're talking about. It's about just how you quickly organize your thoughts so that you can go into the conversation and be more persuasive. And when you're more confident and persuasive, people challenge you less. I've mentioned that idea before during our sessions. So going to work, you want to talk to your boss about such and such change, or your coworker or your customer, whoever, same thing. You get yourself organized first. What is the ethos? What is the pathos with the logos? Then you start the conversation. It doesn't mean you're going to pitch them for a minute. It could be a dynamic, real conversation, but in your head, you're thinking, I want to mention ethos. I want to mention pathos. I want to mention logos and make my argument more persuasive. Okay. And then, of course, as we talked about earlier, making sure that you focus on their benefit as well, how they're going to benefit from following your advice. So when we look at work, so I would suggest for homework, you create a short pitch that you want to use at work. I would suggest you do that. Ellen, at the top of the session today, said, oh, I don't think I practiced what we did last time. Fair enough. So you can make little games with yourself to how to
I
practice.
tried 2 days and then
Yeah,
I forgot.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think that if I'm being honest, I tend to repeat and regurgitate concepts and formulas often so that I can memorize them too, like 3 V's or 3 P's or ethos, pathos, locus. It's not the first time I'll talk about this. So I think it's important to reinforce it as much as possible and to practice it. That's why I keep mentioning low stakes environments, like deciding what to have for lunch. If everyone waits until the big conversation with the big stakeholder, and then you try to pull out some sort of communication formula, it's going to be much more stressful for you, much more difficult. But if you're practicing with low stakes environment all the time, customer service reps, family, whatever, you get much more comfortable and your brain works faster under pressure, so that when you are under pressure with that stakeholder, you're able to handle it better.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Actually, it's about the practice, or how do we get there? Because when you had the dog walker practice, I noticed myself, the first thing I go is like a price, logos. And I can see myself every time I talk to other people, I try to go to the logical appeal. Um, is that like, and then I really had a hard time thinking of anything that's emotional appeal or credibility. Credibility, I think it should be there. Like I've been working with you for some time, it should be there. And then also, but the mentioning you said that the preparation and then that makes sense. So that your idea is more credible. But emotional appeal is, I think it's really hard. Is there any, I guess, way to better practice it? Like what is the pleasure or what is the pain? Like I can't even think of any. That's kind of what I'm
Okay.
struggling with.
People don't buy products and services. People buy feelings. Think about what I just said.
Which is true. Yeah.
It's very true. If you go on this weekend to buy a new TV, the question a good salesperson will ask is why? Why now? Why today? What happened to your old TV? That's a good question a salesperson will ask. If you say it's old, it's scratched, it's fuzzy, it's worn out, and we got important soccer coming up, we got to watch, that's emotional, right? And the good salesperson will say something like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, the World Cup's coming. You want to watch soccer. We need a certain picture. Yeah, let's talk about that. If the salesperson just says to you, here's our discount models, here's what's on sale, here's our sales rack, then the assumption is you only care about price, which is logos. That's a very big assumption to make, especially if you haven't had a proper conversation with the person to find out why they're in your store. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm directly telling you not to focus on logos so much. It's the least important thing of these three things. You can certainly mention it, but to me, humans are emotional creatures. They're motivated by emotions, gaining pleasure or avoiding pain. So if I'm your boss and I say, I need you to work overtime today, again, that's emotional, right? That's like you had things planned. You're not going to get any extra money. It's a pain in the butt. So why would you do it, right? Now, it would depend on the situation, of course. There could be a wide variety of things. But that's tough, right? It's like, okay, well, here's why. Here's how that's really going to help you to work overtime. By you working overtime, you're going to help me. That's going to produce better results. And then we can all get a raise next month. Okay, now we're talking. Like there's something. Put the work in now and it benefits me later. Like there's got to be something. So I'm not saying it's easy. And all three are important. And maybe you don't get all three out in a discussion. Maybe just one or two come out. And logos is still important. But just try to remember that humans really don't buy products and services. We buy feelings. And it tends to be the same with work, even though you're not buying something, but you're doing something. And usually it's because you're trying to get some reward or avoid some type of punishment, get pleasure, avoid pain. The logos is just the cherry on top. It's just the cherry on top. For example, let's talk about overtime again. Let's say that somebody does get paid overtime. Let's say the boss says to somebody, I need you to come in and work Easter weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, something like that, a holiday, and you get time and a half. For one employee, that might be great because the number is really important. I need the money. I really need that money, so I'm going to do that. That's because you're thinking it's logos, but I would still say it's pathos because the person needs that money so much so they're going to sacrifice the family holiday. That's an emotional need for me. But another employer might say, no, thanks. Even if it's time and a half, I don't want to. I need my Easter time. And again, it's emotional. They need to spend time with their family, they've decided, for whatever reason. And the logical appeal of number doesn't affect them. So it's not to say that everyone's going to have the same reaction. There's various circumstances, but I want you to think about, and for everybody to think about, if you want to pitch some sort of idea or suggestion at work with your stakeholders, think about the ethos, pathos, logos first, all three, and then go and see how the conversation goes. For example, if you wanted to practice this concept here, like an employee and a manager have a discussion about hybrid work, right? Presumably, the employee wants hybrid work where they can work at home. And presumably, the manager wants you to be in the office full time. So these are discussions happening all the time, right? For the last couple of years, this discussion's been going on still. And so you have to ask yourself, what is my ethos? What is my pathos? What is my logos if I'm the manager? And what is my ethos? What is my pathos? What is my logos if I'm the employee? It's the same. You have the discussion, you have a role play, you have a practice. Right? There's no right or wrong answer. There's like I can do a role play, like Ellen and I can do a role play together 10 times and we can have 10 different conversations, right? There's not one right answer. It's about taking this formula and saying, how am I going to use it today for this particular discussion to show benefit to them as well as me and to present it in a way. So remember, if I'm talking to Ellen, if Ellen's my boss and I want to stay at home 3 times a week, and I'm talking about pathos, emotional appeal, I can't just talk about my own emotional appeal. This is the important. I can't say, well, I feel better at home. I'm more comfortable at home. I work better when I'm in my pajamas. That's not how you use this. It's not my emotional appeal. It's Ellen's emotional appeal. So when I'm presenting my discussion, it's about how Ellen will benefit if I stay at home. That's why this is harder to do than just speaking off the top of your head, because you have to get your ducks in a row first. You have to think ahead of time, right? So I'm thinking ethos, credibility of hybrid working. I might say, well, since COVID started, everyone's been doing it, and the world has not stopped. Business has not stopped. There's lots of business and governments that are perfectly fine doing hybrid during COVID. So why do we somehow think that it doesn't work anymore? Right? You want happy employees. Employees, statistically speaking, are happier doing hybrid. You have a happy employee, you're going to have a productive employee. So by allowing me to stay home 2 or 3 days a week, you're actually going to get more productivity out of me. That's better for you, right? So this is again, yes, it's my benefit, but it's your benefit, and that's the game. That's the formula. Is that you're making sure that your conversation partner understands the benefit for them to follow your advice, to follow your suggestion. And then Ella would come back with her own reasons why full-time management. Tell me, Ellen, why the employee should go to the office 5 times a week.
Sure, I can try, but I don't know. Chloe had this scenario. I don't know if she wants to give it a try as well.
Sure.
Alan, please go ahead. I have 2 questions following yours.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess from ethos perspective, that I don't know if this is true. Like there are many companies that have brought employees back to work, and including some of the big banks and the government that have improved their productivity based on what those companies have been saying. From again, emotional is a hard one for me.
Right.
From emotional appeal, I can't, like, it's gonna bring them out of home regularly so they don't get stuck, and they have social connections with coworkers. Um, and there will be more collaboration with other teams happening faster than if they're at home. And it's only 4 days a week.
Good. Yeah, exactly. You did a great job, Ellen. I know I put you on the spot, but when you start asking your brain, just, okay, let me come up with an ethos, pathos, logos for this side of the argument, you can do it, right? Maybe you would prefer to be on the other side of the argument, but you did a great job. And so that's how this tool works. It's a tool. And again, whether you're talking about KFC versus Popeyes, or whether you're talking about staying at home or working in the office, whatever the issue is, just organize your thoughts first before you have that conversation with whoever it is you're going to have the conversation, and ask yourself ahead of time, what is my credibility or the credibility of this idea? Then what's the emotional appeal to the listener, and that would be pleasure and pain. What pleasure will they get by listening to me, and what pain will they avoid by listening to me? And then logos, can I throw some numbers their way to solidify and support what I'm suggesting? That's basically it. It could be a very short, literally like an elevator pitch, like a very short pitch, or it could be a long discussion. But either way, you're focusing on that. So by getting your ducks in a row ahead of time, by getting your ideas clear, then no matter how long or short or difficult or easy the conversation is going to be, you're going to have your key points that you want to put to be more persuasive in your conversation. That's it. It's a simple old technique that is very easy to implement and remember. And again, I keep saying, in addition to this, always remember to mention the benefit to them. It's not clear with this formula. That's why I'm adding that. Like, make sure you are talking about the benefit to them to listen to you and to follow your advice, so they feel good about it. So there's no feeling of cheating or unethicity. It's like, no, that's a great suggestion. Thanks so much. You're right. Like, that's what you want is your answer. You want yeah, you're right. That's cool. Like, thanks a lot for letting me know about that. Thanks a lot for telling me about that. That's the response you're actually looking for, because you indeed are helping someone see a point of view that maybe they're not looking at that will benefit them. Okay, I think we're gonna open up to questions. And I know Chloe's got a couple of questions. So I just want to once again just let you know, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do, or email me any questions you can. And if you're interested in the webinars or whatever the events that NCCA Canada is doing, maybe sign up for the newsletter on the homepage. And I have a YouTube channel for 3V, but you can see here there's a video picture, which is the verbal persuasion to communications to get buy-in. And you can see I'm actually discussing ethos, pathos, logos on video. So if you want a reminder, I know this session's recorded, but if you want a reminder, like a 5 or 6 minute reminder, just go to my YouTube channel and there's that video. You can do that. And as I mentioned before, NCCA, we're going to do our webinar called The Art of the Elevator Pitch on May 15th at 11:30. And if you're interested in this, you can register with this Zoom link, or you can ask me or Ellen later to send it to you. But I'm happy to have it, and it's no cost. So I'm done my my selling. Anybody have any questions about today? Please do. I'm going to stop sharing, and Chloe, whenever you want, you can start us off if you like.
Thank you so much, Rick, for another wonderful, session.
Welcome.
We are sold. Right. I have two questions. One is that you mentioned about the formula, right? Isopatho and logos. So the first question is that should we adjust the portion of the formula based on our audience, say whoever the stakeholders, and for example, if we are talking to a male versus female, or some number guy versus very emotional guy, how should we adjust that formula?
It's a great question. It's a great question. My quick answer would be no, don't adjust it because the formula works well together, all three. And then my supplemental answer would be, yeah, if you've got a numbers guy in front of you and he wants to talk numbers, let him be happy. So if the conversation is more oriented towards numbers or emotions, because that's where the person wants to go, I think it's responsible of you to let them talk about it more, because that's going to make them feel more comfortable. If you try to skip off that topic, they're going to feel you're hiding something. So having all three ethos, pathos, logos prepared ahead of time will allow you to talk about all three sections. And if someone wants to go deeper into some, yeah, let them go deeper in that section. That's reasonable.
Based on their action.
Exactly. So could you imagine if you had, even today, you've got two questions, but I said, okay, we're not going to take questions today. It just doesn't feel right? It doesn't feel good. Same thing. If someone wants to talk about numbers longer than you expected, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to let them because I don't want them to be uncomfortable. I want them to have a positive experience. So sure, let's talk about numbers. I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So my second question is that, so what post persuasion stage? Say I had a very successful sales meeting and I did everything according to the formula, but the client or whoever the stakeholder says, let me consider. And then finally I followed up, and then finally there may be a no. So what the next step?
I mean, there's no guarantees in life. We're using formulas. We're trying to be more persuasive. There could be, I suspect, a very strong reason why the person is saying no. And if we can discover that reason, that's going to help us enter the conversation again, or the negotiation. So as a quick example, maybe I didn't hit it clearly in the first conversation. What is your pain point? Or, for example, so maybe the second time around, I can find out. It's almost like in sales, like, well, if someone says no, how do you handle that? How do you get around to no? It's not comfortable, but it's really about having a conversation. So I think my lesson for today is about giving people a formula to use, at least to try, see how it goes, and gives their organization of thought. But there's no guarantee it's going to work. And if it doesn't, why? Like, what is the sticking point? What is the challenge? What wasn't clear before? Maybe we just refocus on a different part of the conversation. That's all I can suggest.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
No. Anyone else has questions?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Domi.
This is not a question, but it might be a thought. Just want to put it on the table. I really appreciate for Rick, you sharing this method. It could be very effective. I'm just thinking, is that maybe possible at some point to have another session that the audience can come up with some scenarios and how we can handle that, use this method and to apply in those specific situations. I'm sure that the people in the group, they may have some different scenarios. I'm just a suggestion, a thought, like if that might be possible to have some like a practice session in the future just to apply this method. I think it will be very, really good, but need more practice.
Yeah, so the practice depends on the participation. So whatever sessions I'm doing, I'm always asking, what does anybody think? And does anybody want to try this, etc. And I think sometimes with a new formula, people are a little bit shy because it's kind of new. Maybe it's the first time they've heard of this, and they're a little bit shy to jump in and try it. So it's up to Ellen, who is the big boss. But certainly,
I'm not.
yeah, you are. But certainly we could have a session where people can try either specific formulas or just try different types of, let's say, difficult conversations, and then other people in the group can even give feedback. It just, what it takes is a bit of bravery. And I'm not saying that nobody has it. I think some people do. But that's the challenge. You've got to get people to do the role play with
Right.
their classmate or with the teacher, whatever, and to put it out there and to to receive feedback on it.
Right.
And so if nobody's doing it, you're going to have a short class. And if only one person's doing it, it's going to be a short class. So that's what I would say to that. I think it depends on the interest to do more live action role plays.
Hi, Rick.
Understandable, yeah.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Lucy.
This is Lucy. Thank you for your class today. This is the first time I joined to hear that this is a new concept today. Yeah, it's good. But for my understanding more clearly, I wish if you possible in the future class, if you can give us more example, the detailed example for better understanding. That I will appreciate for that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Again, think about something simple like what you want to have for lunch or dinner tonight. So Lucy, I know what you're asking. You're asking me to do the work, but I could say to you after this session, think about what you want to have for dinner tonight. And just imagine it's a conversation with your husband or a friend or whoever between choice A and choice B. And then put some notes down of ethos, pathos, logos about your honest choice. Like whatever your honest choice is, say that's why. So imagine, for example, you decided you're going to have chicken tonight, and you get home and somebody in your family says, I don't want chicken tonight, I want pizza, just for example. And then you would have ethos, pathos, logos lined up about why chicken is better, not just for you, but for them too. That's an example from just your life where you can use the same principle. It doesn't always have to be high stress work. So I hope that with any tools or formulas, you can find opportunities to practice it so that you get good at it in what I call low stake environment, so that when it comes to like a high stake work situation, you're more comfortable with it. That's what I would say. So to be specific about the chicken, because I love chicken personally. So it might just be something like chicken's healthier, right? Like it could be something like chicken, this was on sale and we got extra, a bigger chicken for the same price as a smaller chicken tonight. It sounds like simple things I'm saying, but they're points of persuasion to get the person to not argue with me or to accept my idea easier and smoother about what we're going to eat. The video that I showed you guys earlier, I believe there's an example, a work example with that as well. But you can think about, we talked about hybrid work, right? And Ellen made some very good points as the manager of why why you should come to the office. And I made some points about why we should be in hybrid. So those are, I think, real reasons why people are arguing to either stay at home or to go to the office. So there's lots of examples all around. And you could just think, okay, how would I, if I wanted to be persuasive, how would I use ethos, pathos, logos? So I encourage everyone, not just Lucy, I encourage everyone to take that formula, maybe write it down on a yellow sticky note or something, ethos, pathos, logos, like ethos, your credibility, pathos, emotional appeal, logos, numbers appeal, and just practice it for the next week or two. Have a little sticky by your computer, by your phone, by your workstation. And just when you're going to answer an email, when you're going to answer the phone, you're going to have a Zoom call, just look at that first, ethos, pathos, logos, and maybe get some ideas in your head and then have that conversation. You'd be surprised how easy it can be to sound more persuasive when you use that formula. I hope it helps.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Yeah, I wouldn't mind organizing, like Rick said, a more of a practicing role play session. That would be great. That's something I have in my mind for some time, but I think it might be difficult to do it online. But yeah, if you guys, I put my email address in the chat. If you guys interested in a session like that, let me know. We certainly can organize something like that. Okay, I'll put my email address here. I don't know if or you can let me know right now by chat to myself or in the group that you want to do some kind of a practice session. I truly think practice, and then I'm trying, like I said, but again, like the first week after the session, I usually I'm pretty good at thinking about the things we talk about, but then as time goes by, I started to getting distracted. But I think it would be really good if some of us can be in a regular sort of touch base, and then so we can remind each other to practice.
Ellen, I have a
Mhm.
suggestion.
Mhm.
For the next session, what we can do
Mhm.
is schedule breakout sessions into
Ah,
the actual Zoom thing. So it could be like,
right,
here's a formula, and now everybody goes into groups of 2 or 3 for
right.
15 minutes and practices in the breakout, and then we can come back and talk about it.
Ah.
So if people are willing to do that, if people are interested in the breakout session idea, that way
Mm,
everybody gets a chance because you'll be in a group of 2 or 3 people only,
right.
then come back, we can talk about it. That's something that probably might work for everybody.
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh,
Why
I
don't, what,
see lots
yeah,
of thumbs ups.
yeah,
So it looks like everybody's on board. And
good. So
like I
what we can
mentioned,
do, sorry to
mm-hmm.
interrupt, what we could do is we could sort of agree that next session we will do a quick reminder of the ethos, pathos, logos at the
Right.
beginning, give people a chance to do the breakout.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we have time or if you want, we can do whatever the next topic might be. Again, just a very short, simplified formula and then give people a
Mm-hmm.
chance. So
Mm-hmm.
just because we talked about this today,
Right.
um, and that way, so Jan's asking, what's the method to practice? Breakout sessions. You would, the assignment would be just like today. We said something like discuss hybrid working. One of you be the
Mm-hmm.
manager, one of you be the
Mm-hmm.
employee, or as I said before, discuss what you're going to have for lunch, pizza or KFC. So whatever situation, you would have a breakout session, you would discuss it. You practice the technique.
Ah,
And then you could come back and we could have a group meeting and discuss what went well and what didn't.
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Or
That would
maybe we
be
can ask people to come up with their own scenario in real life. If
Mhm.
they, don't mind sharing, then by practicing, they can get really good insight
Mhm.
into,
Exactly.
right.
the solution.
Yeah. You just need someone to, you got to just tell your partner, here's what I want you to argue, or here's what I want you to,
Mm-hmm.
or here's what I'm going to present to you. Tell me how it sounds.
Right.
Yeah. So again, if people are willing to do that in breakouts, that might be an easy solution. Everybody gets a chance to speak or to role play a bit. with whatever formula. So if we use ethos, pathos, logos, that's fine. If we do something different with a different formula, that's fine. But we can certainly play around more with this topic next time. It's definitely an interesting topic of persuasion. We can put more practice in it next time.
Yeah. And it would be more helpful and useful for everybody if we practice a bit more and see how it works. Okay, sounds great. Yeah, that's great suggestion. I think we have our next session nailed out. That's
great.
Even better. All right.
So
Okay, thanks everybody.
Everyone think about some topics you want to role play or discuss about persuasion, work related or whatever. Maybe send some ideas to Ellen if you like, but at least be prepared. And then we'll use the same formula, ethos, pathos, logos, but you'll have a chance to practice it in a breakout session and see how it works.
For inquiries, please contact info@eawlc.org or visit our website at www.eawlc.org.